Hi friends, Michelle back with another video, and today I wanted to do the worth every single page big books tag. This one was created by Shelley Swearingen, or Swearingen. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. Sorry, Shelley, if I have that wrong. But anyway, in this tag, you're supposed to talk about 3 or more books that are 800 pages or longer that you've read that you thought are worth every single minute spent reading them or every single page. I'm a lover of big books. I just love how you get so invested, and if it's really well done, it doesn't feel like it's a big book. It feels like it goes faster. I'd rather read 1,000-page book than a few 200 or 300 page books that I'm not really enjoying. And I just thought I'd come on here and just share with you some of the ones I think are well worth your time that I have loved and just wanted to talk about. So the first one of these is one I read in 2023 by an author who also happens to be a physician who also teaches at Stanford University, I think. I'm not sure if he still does, but I'm talking about Abraham Verghese, and the book is The Covenant of Water. This book is everything I love in a story. It's got riveting characters, a plot that moves along at a great pace, multi-generations. We're following this family who live in the south of India. And one of the family members believes them to be cursed because every so often, a member of the family dies by drowning. Even though they live near the water, they all know how to swim. They all are very cautious. There's no explanation for why this particular family is hit by these tragedies that keep occurring. And so it kind of goes from there. We're following this mother and daughter at first. Then we go to the husband, and then we go to different family members through the generations. And it's about culture, it's about relationships, it's the descriptions of the scenery in here in the country of India itself are just fantastic. I just got so invested in this story from the get-go. I couldn't stop reading it. When I was reading this, it was really hard to put down. It was one of those that you just want to keep reading all night, and you look forward to picking up at the end of your workday. It's kind of like a reward at the end of your day to sit down with this book and just hunker down and dive back into this world. It also was very cinematic to me. As I was reading this, the movie was playing in my head. I could completely imagine everything. I could smell the smells. I could hear the people's voices and see them really clearly as they are depicted in here so brilliantly. And if you want to go on a journey, this is the perfect book for that kind of thing. The kind of book where you just lose track of time, and it takes you a couple minutes to get back into the real world here. So highly recommend this. The Covenant of Water is just fantastic. I love this book. It is around the 800 page mark. It's 700 and some, so maybe just under 800, but fantastic. Next big book I want to talk to you about is one I read a couple summers ago. And this one is it's way more than 800 pages. It is, in fact, just over 1,400 pages. I was a little bit intimidated at first, but I really wanted to read this because I've heard nothing but great things about this book. I'm talking about It by Stephen King. And if you're a fan, if you've read this, you already know. What can I say? In this book, it's hard to sum up what happens in here in just a few words, but I'll try. So this is set in a small town named Derry in Maine. As are most of Stephen King's books, he writes about what he knows. We're following a group of 7 young people in the year 1958. That's another thing Stephen King I find really nails is the historical elements in the books, his details and attention to, pop culture things, as well as the music of the times and so on, the details. Anyway, there are really horrible mysterious and tragic things happening in this town. The locals think that the town is haunted. Particularly, there are weird things happening that have to do with the sewer system, and we get to meet Pennywise the clown. And these kids are basically traumatized when they're teenagers. They all move away, life goes on, seemingly as normal. And they're all summoned back to this town 30 years later as adults to face off with the evil that they thought they had left behind when they moved away. That's the basic gist of this story, but there is so much more to it than that. Don't take my word for it. See for yourself. Get a copy from your library if you don't want to purchase this book. It's a commitment, but I was entertained all the way through. The pacing is kind of up and down, but that's to be expected with a story this massive that spans generations. And he also does the characters so well. Like, he writes quirky, small town, weird, dysfunctional people so well that they just seem so real. So for me, it doesn't take a lot to get swept up in this world. In spite of the paranormal elements and the horror elements, which he's known for writing horror for a reason. There's a couple gross scenes in here, particularly a scene at a Chinese restaurant where they all go out for dinner as adults. And if you know, you know. But yeah, I love this. I was thoroughly entertained all the way through. Well worth your time. And the thing about a book like this is it doesn't feel like it's a big book. I'd much rather read a 1,400-page book that I'm really enjoying than 4 300-page books that are just okay. So yeah. It by Stephen King. A fantastic big book that I really loved. Next up, we have a series which I'm shocked. For one thing, I'm not a fan usually of book series, which is also why I don't tend to read a lot of YA books. But this one book turned everything and completely turned me on to the world of fantasy. I'm about to talk about a very popular author in the fantasy genre, adult fantasy books. I first heard about him on BookTube. All these people were talking about his books, and I'm like, I have to see what this is all about, all this hype. I never like to miss out. I have FOMO when it comes to books, even if it's a genre I don't particularly care about or like. So that is what led me to pick up The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. These books are all just over the 1,200 page mark, I think, but yeah, I went into this not knowing a whole lot about this book, this story, this world, and I think that's the best way to go into this. I had tried reading fantasy in the past. I've tried Lord of the Rings. No, thank you. I was bored silly with those books. I couldn't get into it at all. I've tried Terry Pratchett, again, not for me. I've tried, who else have I tried? I've tried the Game of Thrones, also not for me. This, for me, is completely different than those other fantasy books. I mean, if you love those books, that's great, but they just weren't to my taste, that's all. To me, this is a total different style of writing. The story itself sucked me right in. He has invented this world that seems so plausible and so realistic. And the concerns of the people that live in this world are no different than concerns that people now on planet Earth have. So very relatable storytelling. I think Brandon Sanderson is a creative genius. Like, he has come up with a civilization, a planet, a universe, a monetary system, different languages, different ethnicities, different religious beliefs, all manner of people, and everything that he writes makes perfect sense. The chapters are short. There's a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of each one that keeps you reading. The books also have these fantastic illustrations that help to explain things, like the plant life, for example. I'm just looking for an illustration here to show. And, you know, when he's talking about certain things in the book, there's a little illustration. I love that. I love those details. Like I said, you get so involved with these characters. They're so believable. The dialogue, once you learn the different words that they use in their language and their culture, it's like, I feel like I've learned how to speak a new language myself. And if you've read this, you know. So, I don't know, fantastic storyteller, fantastic writing, believable world that he's created out of nothing. And I could not wait to read the next installment of this book. In this one, we're following a character named Kaladin, and each subsequent book focuses on one specific main character, although he does introduce different side characters along the way. He never overwhelms you with too many people or too many things going on, and he drops little Easter eggs in there that remind you of things that happened in the past. So in case you do start to forget about something significant, Brandon has your back. He'll remind you in a future chapter or in the next installment. So I love that. This is, yeah, I don't know. It's too much to try and explain this story. It's basically, you know, learning about these people and their battles and their inner conflicts and their, you know, ethical dilemmas and good versus evil. There is some romance in here for the romance people, but not too much, which I also love. There are portals. I believe in the third installment, there is a dragon that makes an appearance, although it's not super dragon heavy. Like, it's never as outlandish and as wildly imaginative as his books are. They're never silly. That's another thing I like. So yeah, loved Way of Kings. I read the next installment called Words of Radiance. This is the second book, equally as fantastic as the first. Some people like this one even more. Yeah, again, with the illustrations throughout, cliffhangers at the end of every chapter. So I couldn't help but read the third one. And I was buddy reading this. Look how many tabs I have going on. I had, okay, I'll try and explain here. Blue was for world building. Green was for significant things that happened in the plot. Yellow was for things that the characters did or said that I liked. Pink was for romantic relationships. And then there's not a whole lot of orange. Yeah, it's yellow, blue, pink. So yeah, anyways, I was going to run out of flags. I just thought I gave up flagging the books after this because there are just too many crazy things that happened. So yeah, this was Oathbringer, the third one. Anyway, pick up The Way of Kings if you're curious. I highly recommend this, and invite you to explore the world of Brandon Sanderson. It's fantastic. The book I'm currently reading is the fourth installment in the Stormlight Archive series, and that book is Rhythm of War. The new one, Wind and Truth, just came out this year, I believe in March, yeah, I forget when exactly, but anyhow, this is the fourth. The fifth just came out, and he has said that he's not going to be putting out any more in this series until the year 2031 or something like that. But anyway, I thought this is the perfect time for me to catch up with this series. I have to read Rhythm of War before I continue on to the fifth one, Wind of Truth, or Wind and Truth. And yeah, this is equally as gripping. I'm only about 50 pages in, but another thing I love about him, you know, it's been years since I read the previous book, but he picks up where you left off, and he reminds you of the main event that kicks off all the action in the very first book, which is this big, lavish party where a king and queen are, and there's an assassination that happens, and that's what kind of kicks everything off. So at the beginning of each book, you go back to that night of the party, but it's a different character that you're following, a different perspective, and a different point of view of what exactly went down just before or just after the assassination happened. So he gives you this teaser kind of at the beginning of each book that sheds a whole new light on everything else that came after. Love that. Like I said, I think he's brilliant, and I'm really loving reading this so far. So this is my main book for the month of August. I don't tend to do TBRs because I'm such a mood reader, but I thought I really was craving to read more Brandon Sanderson again and get back into this series, back to these characters that I've gotten so invested in. And yeah, he never disappoints. I've loved all of the books so far, so I'm getting into this one now. And another big book I just wanted to touch on before I wrap things up here. I know I'm kind of long-winded when it comes to the Brandon Sanderson books, but I really love them. I mean, they're just, another thing is the artwork that's just incredible. And you get a map of Roshar, the world in which the Stormlight books take place. So, okay, enough about that. The last big book that I started reading, put down, but it's one that I can go back to in the future, and I intend to finish it, hopefully this year. That book is War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Now, it's intimidating. This one clocks in at, yeah, it's over 1,200 pages, but I mean, and I'm at the 240 page mark, but I read this relatively quickly. Once you get over the fact that there's so many people, and he shows you, he holds your hand through this book and shows you who he wants you to put your attention on. He gives the main people in this story very distinctive characteristics. Nikolai, for example, he's kind of overweight. He's got little glasses and red hands. Then there's the princess, who he describes as having little and dark hair and a mustache. And so on. So the writing is fantastic. I mean, yes, there are some long battle scenes in here, but they all make sense. And the relationships kind of are at the forefront of this story. So yeah, I really am invested in here. Because it's such a long, drawn out story, though, I find it's easy to put down and then jump back into. I wouldn't want to read this, straight through. I would find that really long, but it's so well written. I'm really enjoying it. So I will pick this back up. I will finish it. And I don't think you should be intimidated by big books, because in my opinion, as long as they're entertaining, as long as you're enjoying the ride, definitely worthwhile. The only caveat I would have as far as reading big books goes is that if you're not having a good time, if you're not fully invested, after say 100 pages, I would DNF. You shouldn't feel bad about not investing your time and your attention on something that is not feeding you or educating you or entertaining you or giving you some kind of joy. That's what it's all about, right? So yeah, there you have it. My feeling about big books, what I'm currently reading, what I'm so excited to get back into, the Stormlight archive books. I just love them so much. I have missed them. And yeah, for my August reads, like I said, I'm doing Rhythm of War, and I also have committed to a buddy read. So this is also on my August TBR, Culpability by Bruce Hoslinger. We're following a family who are driving a self-driving minivan. The teenage son is behind the wheel. The father's in the front seat. The mom and the two teenage sisters are in the back. All of a sudden, something happens, and they have a head-on collision and kill the two senior citizens in the oncoming vehicle. This is all about who is at fault, what led up to the crash, how AI is kind of taking over or, infiltrating life, and the repercussions involved in technology and so on. So yeah, can't wait to read this one with my friends Isabel from Isabel Reads and Dee from the Reading Room 1972. Should be a good one. I really enjoyed our last read, our last couple. So yeah, really this is the only book on my August TBR. This one, as well as, like I said, Rhythm of War from Brandon Sanderson. So there you have it. Why I love big books, why I think the ones I mentioned are well worth your time and attention, and I hope you will pick one of them up or maybe try something completely different out of your comfort zone. Thanks so much for watching this video. Have a great weekend and happy Friday. See you in the next one. Bye.